Another tough loss for the Utah Hockey Club tonight, this time 5-1 at the hands of the Colorado Avalanche. However, we have an NHL debut to talk about, and, well, yeah, we're going to talk about that game too. All right, Robyn and I are back in just a moment. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leano here with you as always, and we appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. As the Utah Hockey Club in this inaugural season, we told you there'd be some ups, some downs. Well, tonight was one of the downs. We're going to get into that, but an NHL debut to talk about as well. First, I need to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, Robyn, it's a tough one. It was 3 in a row as far as wins for the Avalanche coming in. It's now 4 in a row, and I think you have to take the good with the bad out of this game, so we do need to start with the good. First of all, how about Maverick Lamoureux making an NHL debut? His mom made it to the game, so that was fun. Certainly not the result I'm sure that they would have liked to have seen, but believe it or not, +1 for Maverick, and that's a rare stat for this team on this night. 1850 of ice in 27 shifts, 1 shot, 1 missed shot, 2 hits, 1 giveaway, and 3 block shots. And that actually, the 3 blocks led the team. So that is your line score. Not a bad NHL debut.
Not a bad one at all. I think that's kind of, if all things considered with how the game is, which we are going to get to a lot more in depth about. But all things considered, I think that's fantastic. That's really good. I mean, there has been high expectations for Maverick Lamoureux. I mean, especially because, hey, this guy was a first-round draft pick. Yes, he was a late first-round draft pick, and I mean late first-round draft pick. But I mean, they still comes with all the, all the elements that that come with it, right? All the pressures, like, oh, it's a first-round draft pick. What can he do? He didn't disappoint. He played as he should, and as he said, +1 in the game where there is, plenty of goals against on this team. I feel like that's as much of a win you can get for a Maverick Lamoureux.
Yeah, and I mean, just very excited. You could tell the smile wasn't leaving the face, even though, again, the score wasn't great. But, despite the team trailing after the first period, you go back, you watch the TV interview, it was just excited to be there. You could feel the excitement.
It's really funny. You mentioned, his mom was able to be there, and I found it really interesting because I was following the Twitter feed about leading up to his debut, and they're talking about him trying to get his parents on over to Salt Lake City from Montreal. With the issue being there's not very many last minute flights from Montreal to Salt Lake City. So they were wondering whether or not they were going to make it. And I'm glad mom did, because I think that's, that's a huge accomplishment to make it to the National Hockey League.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's funny, they just moved him into Tucson not that long ago, and then they headed back to Montreal and right away had to run back across the country to Salt Lake. So, that maybe they'll get a little more familiar with the air pattern. Talking about his debut, a couple other things I wanted to mention. Number one, all the shifts are at even strength. So clearly, Andre Tourigny wasn't going to call him up, throw him into a special team situation, even with missing some of the top D. So no power play, no penalty killing responsibilities, everything at 5-on-5 makes sense, I think, with a player in his first NHL game. And, a lot of times you're a coach, they keep it simple. Don't try to do too much. And I think that fits him pretty well and fit the description of his debut. And Robyn, again, I mean, it bears repeating, how much more can you ask for a guy in a 5-1 loss that he's the +1 defenseman?
there's not much you can ask for at that point. It's again, I'm satisfied with the way he played, and we'll see how long his call up will last. I think there's reason to believe it's not going to be very long, but hey, you gotta take it with stride. And here's the thing that I will say, everyone talks about it's not going to be very long. And I think even Craig Morgan had mentioned this too, right? Where we said the same thing about Dylan Gunther, but then look what ended up happening.
Right.
Dylan Gunther in his rookie season with the Arizona Coyotes just goes out and just keeps playing. We're like, shouldn't he have been sent back by now? And there's like, but no, he just kept playing because he gave him a reason. Maybe that's what we could see with Maverick Lamoureux. The expectation he's not going to be there, but if he plays as well as he did, considering all things considered, maybe he can give Bill Armstrong and Andre Tourigny, or not give them a reason to send them back down.
Well, that's it. I mean, if you're ready, you're ready. It doesn't do you any good to spend more time in Tucson. But again, defensemen tend to develop a little later.
Yeah.
But for now, here's the other thing too, Robyn, is just I've been listening to a lot of different perspectives on Utah Hockey Club, not just the local and the regional, but the national and the international. I've been listening to what the Canadian pundits are saying. The feeling is very much that UHC is going to try to solve everything internally for now.
Yeah.
Now, there are teams out there looking to make moves already. Nashville's one of them. Montreal is another one. It's not easy to make a trade this time of year. A lot of teams barely know what they have. And of course, some of them have their injuries. So, like Utah. So, looking at that standpoint, Nashville, though, off to a bad start and feels like something needs to change. So there's a potential for a trade partner there. And I'm going to save getting into depth about this for another episode. But so there's that. There's Montreal. Of course, we talked about Toronto and the possibility there as well, although they're less in a hurry to upset their apple cart. There's a possibility, but you just don't want to overpay. And I think that's probably what Bill Armstrong is looking at right now. He's saying, you know what? Why don't we just work on this internally? Let's see if we can plug the gap with some of the guys we have, get through as best as we can. At some point, they will need to address it. However, in the short term, I think until basically, without saying it, prices come down, then they will figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that they will figure it out. And I think the important thing, Tom, is, and we've talked about this when it comes to the blue line situation, and Maverick Lamoureux, I think he's gonna do fine, for the time being.
And they put him out there with Ian Cole.
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
mean that's a good assignment for him.
Exactly, it's a pretty good assignment. And I think the thing is, you said he's still young. Defensemen take longer to develop. We don't want to rush to development and just stick him up here too long up in Salt Lake City, where he's be getting significantly less minutes than he would if he's still back down in Tucson. I think that's kind of the concern that people have. And that's why we're probably going to see that little bit of maybe rotation. Maybe Onyebuchi comes in. Maybe Duda comes in, as we've talked about multiple times. But to see how I'm still as curious. We will see exactly how long Lamoureux's cup of coffee will be.
Yes. But in the meantime, I tell you what, every time he takes a sip, he's smiling.
Exactly. Love that. But let's move on from that, though. Let's get to talk about a little more about this game. I know maybe a lot of you guys maybe don't want to hear it, but we're going to talk about it. And then maybe take a look forward and see what's coming up for the UHC. We'll do that right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks, and you can bet, you can get in on that action with Prize Picks in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and of course, Utah, also included in the states where you can enjoy Prize Picks. You can sign up today and get a $50 instantly when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide them more value for your lineup. And you can do really on a lot of different things. I want to, maybe we could focus a little bit on hockey on here. You can say, hey, is Mikhail Sergachev going to get over 25.5 minutes in this game? Or is Dylan Guenther going to get over 2.5 shots on goal in this game? You can do so many different aspects of what you want to pick. It is really easy to do. And, winning the money off a perfect lineup, it feels so darn good. I'll tell you guys that. It's kind of happened to me maybe about twice on my experience with Prize Picks, and I'm having a blast with it. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL and you get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, use the code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, don't even need to win on that $5. It comes right away. That $50 bonus lineup that you can actually get on your funds there. Once again, Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Tom.
Well, you want me to continue with a couple of positives? You want to throw a couple more out there?
Let's get a couple more positives out there just to get people, just get the feel good still. Let's say, let's get all those silver linings coming through.
Yes. So, tough one, but dominant in the face-off circle tonight. Dominant, 41-16. It's something Tom has been harping on. 72%. Listen to these numbers. Barrett Hayton, 16-7. Alex Kerfoot, 6-1. Kevin Stenlund, 8-1 in the circle. I'm very happy with that. That is a very good performance by the Utah Hockey Club. Very pleased with those face-off numbers. Well done. Bravo.
I mean, I don't see how any other way, if unless you are a Colorado fan, to not be upset with that. So that is some really good numbers for in the face-off circle. I've taken the interesting thing is I've taken a look at some of these centers, and they have high potential to really dominate the face-off circle, but they haven't put the numbers out there up until really this. They had a couple times I think they were in the 60% for face-off, a couple games, but for the most part, it's always been at around even or slightly above or pretty darn below. This is a win on that part.
That's one of the things a guy like Stenlund brings with him. He is very good in the circle, and it's an underrated part of the game, but starting with the puck means a whole lot in all three zones. So that was big. 4 shots in the third period against. I like that. That was good too. They kind of clamped down in the third. Now, mind you, by that point, it's already 4-0. You could say, well, maybe Colorado called off the Dogs a little bit, but Utah still had to limit them. 12 in the first, 10 in the second is what they gave up. They started with only 5 in the first. So we'll talk about the slow start here in a moment. But, kind of like the way they finished, at least Lawson Krause did get a goal in the third period. So that was nice. That was his third of the year. The downside, of course, there is downsides to this game. Kiviranta follows it up almost immediately, and it's 5-1 is your final. But, I was a little surprised too, Rob, and I'm going to say this. After Vejmelka came in relief of Ingram, I was actually a little surprised he didn't go right back to Ingram. Not that Veggie wasn't good in the 2 periods. He was really good. But that was kind of the night's work there. I was a little surprised. I thought maybe you would come back with Ingram against Colorado, try to get him his confidence back and get him back in the net right away. But I mean, Colorado's not an easy team to get your confidence back against.
Colorado's always been a tough team, and I mean, they might have had a really slow start. It's like early start to the season, but look, they came back just as easily. And I feel like the difficult matchup carries over. Again, I've talked about how hard of a matchup Colorado has been to this team, from the for years, going back for a lot of the Arizona Coyotes years, and it's still the same team, so that a lot of it still come, at least on for the Arizona, the Utah side, it looks very much the same. So they see those same struggles, and they see the same aspects when it comes to getting on that. So they can get that. I think that's take what you can.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And on the Colorado side, I mean, Cale Makar scored again tonight. He's got, I think they said it's a 15 points in 6 games. He's just unbelievably hot. And again, I mean, he's a stud. If I were starting any team and you're like, Tom, pick any defenseman in the league to start your defensive core, it's Cale Makar. There is no one else for me. So he's just an absolute stud out there.
Honestly, though, like, you can ask anybody, I think. I'm going to put it this way. If there's anybody out there who plays fantasy hockey, that if you're like pretty early, got an early pick in and you were trying to get a defenseman in your fantasy hockey draft, I feel like Cale Makar is always your number one.
Yes.
Like, I feel like there's no other, I wouldn't pick anybody else.
There are some people who will try to put out I go for Adam Fox, I go for Roman Yossi, or I go for whoever, Jack Hughes. No, Cale Makar. That's the guy. He's the guy. So, and he showed it again tonight. I mean, you look at this score sheet and what Colorado, like the players who showed up. Casey Middlestad, former Sabre, goal and 2 assists. Pretty good night for him. Nathan MacKinnon did have an assist on here, but here's the thing: you look at MacKinnon. And, just over 20 minutes of ice time tonight. 3 shots, had 1 block, 1 miss, 1 hit, 1 giveaway, 1 block. He's all over the place. Did go 5 and 8 in the faceoff circle, so finally a hole in his game. But it's a stacked lineup. Kovalenko. By the way, my new favorite name in hockey, Ivan. Same first name and last name. Ivan, first NHL goal tonight. But Kiviranta, Rantanen, and keep in mind, they are still missing their captain. So there's no Landeskog involved in this operation right now. It's such a stacked team. It's such a good team. So, it is a test. But Robin, the point I want to make, and maybe this is one to go into the break on, and then we can expand on it on the other side. But the point I want to make about Colorado, and actually the previous games here that we've seen with Utah, losing a few now, this is the gap. This is the gap in the West between the haves and the have-nots, between the playoff teams and the non-playoff teams. So this is Utah hockey fans. If you're new to this team or if you've been following them for a while, this is what the gap looks like. This is what you need to catch. This is the moving train.
Honestly, and I do agree on that. And I think one thing we can do is we could probably discuss kind of like what Utah needs to accomplish to get to that. Because again, they're not too far off, but there's still some glaring errors that that definitely needs to be addressed. We can get to all that right after this.
And today's show brought to you in part by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I'm a big Bills guy, so I'm checking in on Josh Allen, and now I've got a new target, Amari Cooper, to keep an eye on. So looks like they're working Coop in there. But anybody who is a little worried that Josh's fantasy value might not be as good this year, or that his FanDuel value might not be as good, you're going to be okay. I promise you're going to be okay. All right, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Had to slide some Bills.
Had to get it in there.
Had to do it.
But I want to thank really quick. Want to thank everyone once again for making this show your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your shows. I also want to thank everyone for helping us get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. It has been a massive milestone for us to reach, and I feel like the growth is monumental. Seeing the growth of this show, Tom, over the last 6-7 months, it's been phenomenal. And we hear you guys. We hear you, Utah Hockey Club fans. You guys are embracing this team, and we're feeling it.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You can feel the enthusiasm in the arena. The fans are there, and you can see they're having a good time. I mean, the result is not great tonight, but they're still having a good time. And then you get games where you beat the Bruins, you beat the Blackhawks at home. It's a fun atmosphere. They're trying to make it a giant party, and I think they're succeeding. And you know what? I'm sure they're going to figure things out, add new wrinkles as it goes along. So it's going to be a roller coaster, but for the most part, people ride roller coasters because they're fun, right?
Yep, they're fun, and they kind of they make us feel things.
Yeah. So, and yes, absolutely. Thank you to everybody who got us up to 1,000 and over 1,000. Now the march is on to 10,000, then to 100,000. There is no stopping this tandem. We will indeed dominate the Utah Hockey Club conversation.
That does bring the question: who gets the play button once we get to that level?
Oh, you can have it. I don't need more stuff. You can have it. All you. Send me a picture of it, and I'll print it out on a piece of paper, and I'll just stick it on the wall back there behind the dark saber.
Sure, that works.
Yeah.
Anyways, you talked about the before the break, Tom, about the haves and the have-nots, kind of this game between Utah and Colorado, kind of as an example of that. We've also kind of mentioned all the things that Utah has that can get them to that. We talked about how much of a competitive team these guys are, and the potential they have to be a playoff team. And if they surprise that they could do it, that they could be able to do it this year, but there's still some gaps that needs to be addressed for this team, and what they need to do moving forward, starting with the next game, like their little quick road, little road game that they have in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there's a couple of disappointing starts to the season. Nick Schmaltz still hasn't scored. My anytime goal scorer pick on him did not come out, and he's -5. Not the plus minus is the be all end all, but that's 5 more goals at 5-on-5 or even strength that he's been on the ice for against than he has been on the ice for. I don't like that. That concerns me a little bit. He hasn't scored. Logan Cooley hasn't scored yet. A couple other guys who I think are off to slow starts. I think Sergachev is still finding his way. He's still getting a ton of ice time, but he has responsibilities at all ends. This is growing pains for him. Sergachev is still getting used to that role. Hasn't scored his first goal yet. That'll be a huge weight off of him when he does. Obviously, the injuries haven't helped. That is not what you're looking for. But, like we talk about guys who I'd like to see him start contributing a little bit more, but like a Carcone, I know he's only played 3 games, but, doesn't have a point yet. So I would like to see him try to, maybe when he does get back in the lineup, be able to contribute. And they have a mess of forwards right now, right? Kyler Yamamoto's played in 3 games, no points out of him yet. Those guys who are kind of rotating in and out and a little slow to start. I want to see some of these guys start to pick up the scoring a little bit more. And we're just simply not there yet. I'm not saying they're all going to be a point per game. Michelli, 4 assists in 8 games. I'd like to see more. Josh Doan, 2 points. I'd like to see more. It's just not there. Kerfoot, 2 assists in 8 games. I'd like to see a little bit more. They're going to need scoring up and down the lineup. And I think a lot of these players had a good first couple of games when the adrenaline was there, Robin, and everybody was excited and it was all, woohoo, brand new team, UHC, let's go. But now that's worn off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That energy, that excitement has kind of come back down, and now we're just playing some NHL hockey, and they're in a stretch where, I wanted to see what these challenges would be like. And I was encouraged that they beat Boston, but now you lose 2 in a row against playoff teams. And as you say, this Kings game coming up on the weekend is going to be a big one.
It is a big one because now you're on the road, you're in Los Angeles, and it's a test because the what is it called now? Crypto.com arena or whatever. Like that barn is never an easy place, no matter if the Kings are a good team or a bad team. It's never an easy place to play. So that's a test, especially again back on the road, see what they can do after, especially not having the homestand you expected. Yeah, sure, you're going to come back and place the Sharks, which that should get you a win.
Hey,
but
never say for sure. I mean,
that's why I said should.
Yeah,
not because there's a different. There's you got to use your words carefully here. Those that have followed me every day, been the fan of this podcast for the last 3-4 years, knows that we've had a couple people guests on this show of other teams who have called games a quote a sure thing in favor of their teams, and it went out and bit them in the ass. So
yeah, you don't want that. But Robin, I do want you to know, though, as of tonight's action, the Sharks are still the only winless team in the National Hockey League.
It doesn't surprise me. That team is bad.
Hey, you want to take a guess at who the last undefeated is? And I'm not talking about OT. I mean just undefeated.
Is it still Calgary?
No. Calgary did lose. Finally, they lost in regulation tonight to Carolina. But there's only one left. They won in overtime tonight. That would be the Winnipeg Jets.
Wow.
So, yeah. How about that, huh? How about that? Tom is the only one on that train here in the preseason. If you even go and listen to our show we did with all of the
all of our division,
the picks. Central Division hosts, all of them just dumping all over Winnipeg. And I'm sorry, I'm standing up for the Peg. That's a good hockey team. So, but so back to the Utah Hockey Club, though. Just talking about where they're going now. And like I said, I want to address it in a episode soon about the potential trade targets, what's out there for them right now. But just knowing, Robin, that they are going to try to kind of fill it from within for the time being. So there's going to be growth opportunities here, but there's going to be, to me, that sounds like it's a little bit of a suck it up time.
Yeah,
right now.
There's going to be growth opportunities, but in those opportunities, we're also going to experience a lot of growing pains.
Yes, that is exactly what it sounds like to me. And I mean, again, I think year one is the time to absorb this. Mm-hmm. Not that you want to waste years on anybody's career, but we all knew and discussed it that for this team to creep forward into even contention required this team moving forward and being better than some of the other teams around them and better than maybe on some nights some of the teams in front of them. And they're just not quite there yet.
And especially
without 2 of your top 4D.
Yeah, especially having to face that level of adversity. You don't have your top D for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? Marino is out for 3 to 4 months, and Jersey is out 4 to 6 months. So
we're looking at March or April, maybe for Jersey, depending on how it goes,
and like February maybe for Marino. It's looking at quite a long time for these guys,
and by that time we're creeping up on the trade deadline.
So we'll see, and then maybe like if Utah can come out of these growing pains and look like a better team without these two players, I might be convinced that this team has what it takes, but they got they got to convince us. They got to
Yes.
convince us that they can weather this storm and truly grow from these growing pains.
Yes. And that's the coaching staff, right? That's their job. That is Andre Tourigny and his staff. It is their job to come back and say, you know what, we didn't do X, Y, and Z. Let's go over some video. Let's learn some lessons. Let's talk about what we did with the puck, what we did away from the puck. Again, I mean, to me, I want to see this team winning more battles. I want to see them continue to compete. But Robyn, I just don't think they have that. This is going to sound really horribly cliche, but they don't have the eye of the tiger. You know what I mean? They just don't have that right now. They do not have the eye of the tiger. They're gonna have to figure it out. But right now, when they should be pushing back, to me, watching this team, and maybe other people disagree, and if you do, go ahead and flame me in the comments. I got big shoulders, I can take it. But I just feel like this team doesn't have that yet.
You know,
I don't know where it's going to come from either. Where is that spark going to come from?
You know, I was so tempted to respond with the if you ever watched that video of like the of hockey cliche like press conference stuff, I was gonna go through all the cliches and gotta have 4 9s banging all night long. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to hold myself a little bit there because I have a fun time anytime I put that out there.
Yeah,
if you guys are new to hockey, I highly recommend you guys watch that, by the way. I think it's that's like Pro Hockey Media Relations 101.
Yeah.
Great. I feel like as you, Tom, as someone that's been in for a long time, it really is that way.
It is. I mean, there are guys who have it down. They'll drop 4 of them in one sentence. And I'll just say, you just with that answer to that question, you told me nothing. You said nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was a response. Words came out. You told me nothing. So yeah, that's why, Robyn, I will tell you this. Just a quick story from my NHL days. There weren't a lot of players who, when I asked them a question, would actually think about the question and then respond. But my all-time favorite guy from when I was around was Nicholas Lidstrom, because even like some of the junior reporters or whatever, or even just somebody might unknowingly kind of ask a question that comes across kind of dumb, or maybe they didn't know something and they asked a question that omitted basically 2 games worth of facts, whatever it was. Lidstrom would always consider the question, and he would, in his mind, number one, I'm sure he's translating from, in English, but number 2, he would consider his answer and give you a thoughtful response to your question. And he would always try to get to the core of what you were asking in his response. So few guys do that, but he was one of them. I loved him for it, even though he was on the Red Wings and I was on the Preds. Just class act all the way around. And I wish hockey had more of that.
I also remember when I was covering the Roadrunners with Mike Van Ryn, I think would look at another reporter after asking a question and be like, I should put you on the bench because they would get really smart about it. And I was like, he would actually really he would come up with some clever answers. And this, you talked to Mike Van Ryn a number of times too, but for the most part, a lot of it is very cliche still. A lot of these players, they still get all that cliche, with getting pucks deep, getting pucks in the net.
And that's why I think it's important for us to do our jobs. And fans, here's a little insight, just kind of at the end of this interview, and then I'll shut up. But the way I view it is that when I'm going to talk to a player, it is part of our job to learn and to gain insight into who the player is, what their motivation is and why they play, what they do, why they do it, and to then maybe do a little bit of teaching along the way and explaining how things are done. So I go in there with questions and ideas in mind that are not geared towards, so you lost 5-1 last night. Let's talk about it. Tell me about your thoughts on the game. I want to go in there and talk situations. I want to go in there and give them a chance to explain why things happened the way they did. And I think that is a much more valuable insight, not only to me as someone who covers the team, but to you as a fan, as a listener, as someone who's trying to get to know it. And so that's kind of how I always point my questions, is more towards either specific situations, or if it is a generalization, at least one that has enough of a buildup to it situationally that there's explaining to be done where we can all learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's kind of that's why we are here, right? To kind of help guide all of you guys through that, and maybe help translate a little bit for you. If we hear something, we're like, all right, we understand. We've been through this. Here's what he's really saying.
Here's what the double talk really means. That's right.
Anyways, any final thoughts before we close things out?
Tough one tonight. And you know what? Getting on the road, I think, is actually going to be good for this team. Yeah, in against an LA team that, is still figuring out who they are, although they're playing better lately. So, you know what? It's a good time for this Utah Hockey Club to continue to try to roll some of those guys in, expand their roles, put them in places to try to succeed and step up into bigger roles. So, it's going to be up and down here the next couple of weeks until they really get settled in. But who knows? Maybe you come out of LA with a victory, and we're feeling a lot better about it.
We'll see how all that feels. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your shows, including on YouTube, SiriusXM, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on X, Instagram, and Threads at LO_NHL Utah. Also on TikTok at LO_Utah Hockey. I am personally at Robyn_Leano, and Tom Callahan is at Callahan on Air. You guys can interact with us, ask us any question, and we'll try to answer right back, or even on a future episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you want to get some access to even more info, you can send us a text to 801-760-9033, and that gives you the sign up to join our Insider Text Club. So you guys can get access to some exclusive content, text us one-on-one, get some insider insights, and be a part of and be an insider, truly an insider, as a super fan of the Utah Hockey Club. So once again, send a text and join us now at 801-760-9033. Once again, to everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.